October 1930. The winds of the Great Depression were sweeping across Canada. In the farming communities of northern Alberta, families struggled to survive as crops failed, jobs disappeared, and tensions grew behind closed doors. But in the quiet district near Smoky Lake, Alberta, one family conflict would explode into unimaginable violence. What began as a bitter family dispute ended with 5 innocent people dead, a province in shock, and a murderer facing one of the fastest trials in Canadian history. This is the story of the Smoky Lake Massacre of 1930, a case that has largely faded from memory, but remains one of Alberta's most disturbing family murders. In the early 1930s, Smoky Lake was a small agricultural community northeast of Edmonton. Many residents were Ukrainian immigrants and their descendants who had come to Canada seeking better lives and opportunities. Life was difficult, especially during the economic hardships of the Depression. Families depended heavily on each other. Neighbors knew one another. Disputes rarely stayed private. Among the residents was a 44-year-old man named George Dornichuk. By all appearances, he was an ordinary working man. But behind the scenes, his personal life was unraveling. His marriage had broken down. His relationship with his wife's family had become deeply strained. Arguments over family matters and land ownership intensified over time. What nobody knew was that George's anger was slowly building toward a deadly breaking point. On the evening of October 22, 1930, members of the Wolonsky family gathered at their home near Smoky Lake. It was an ordinary family supper. There were no warnings, no signs that tragedy was only moments away. Then George Dornichuk arrived. Accounts indicate that after entering the home, he armed himself with a shotgun and began firing at family members inside. Explore Strathcona County. The attack was swift, brutal, and merciless. Among those killed were John Wolonsky, George's father-in-law; Mrs. Wolonsky, his mother-in-law; Mary Wolonsky, a 17-year-old disabled family member; Helen Hutchaluk, a 74-year-old grandmother. Panic and terror filled the house. The family had no chance to defend themselves. Within minutes, multiple victims lay dead. But the violence did not end there. As George left the scene, he encountered a nearby resident named Vasil Derichuk. Derichuk had nothing to do with the family conflict. According to reports, George feared that Derichuk might identify him or alert authorities, so he shot him as well. A completely innocent bystander became the 5th victim of that horrific night. News of the killings spread rapidly through the rural community. Residents were terrified. A mass murderer was on the loose. Police quickly launched a search. In small communities, word traveled fast, and officers moved quickly to track the suspect. Fortunately, the manhunt did not last long. The following day, authorities located and arrested George Dornichuk in Vegreville, Alberta. Unlike many killers who attempt elaborate escapes, George's freedom lasted less than 24 hours. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Multiple victims, witness testimony, and little doubt regarding who was responsible. The case would move through the justice system with remarkable speed. Just 1 month after the murders, George Dornichuk stood trial in Edmonton. The proceedings were brief. The evidence was direct. The killings had shocked Alberta, and public interest in the case was intense. Jurors listened to testimony describing the family dispute and the deadly attack. The defense had little room to challenge the facts. After hearing the evidence, the jury retired to deliberate. What happened next became part of Alberta legal history. The jury needed only 48 minutes to reach a verdict. It remains one of the shortest murder deliberations in Edmonton's history. The verdict was clear: guilty of murder. There would be no recommendation for mercy. George Dornichuk was sentenced to death by hanging. At the time, capital punishment was a standard punishment for murder in Canada. Appeals and petitions failed to change the outcome. The justice system moved forward with the sentence. On March 3, 1931, George Dornichuk was executed by hanging at the provincial jail in Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. Nearly a century later, the Smoky Lake Massacre remains a chilling chapter in Canadian criminal history. 5 people lost their lives because one man's anger overcame reason. The case reminds us that some of the most devastating crimes do not begin with strangers. They begin within families, behind familiar doors, among people who know each other best. And sometimes, those are the tragedies that leave the deepest scars. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this true crime story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more forgotten crimes and mysteries from Canadian history. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.